Even personal development depends on consistency. Reading one book won't make you wise, but reading every day will. Attending one seminar won't transform your thinking, but applying principles daily will. Learning a skill for a week won't make you an expert, but practicing consistently will. Mastery in any field is not about talent, but about persistence. Those who succeed are not always the most gifted. They are the ones who stayed consistent long enough to grow. This is why consistency cannot be limited to one area. If you try to build discipline in only one zone of life, the other neglected areas will eventually drag you down. Imagine building wealth but destroying your health. You'll spend money fixing what consistency could have prevented. Imagine building a great career but neglecting your family. You'll end up with success but loneliness. Imagine staying fit but neglecting your spirit. You'll have strength but no peace. True success demands consistency across all dimensions of life. Another truth is that consistency in one area strengthens the others. If you develop the habit of waking up early to exercise, that same discipline can help you wake up early to pray or work on your business. If you build consistency in saving money, that mindset of stewardship can also help you consistently invest in your relationships. Discipline flows like water. It spreads into the cracks of your life. That's why building even one consistent habit is powerful. It trains your brain to follow through, and that skill transfers everywhere. It's also important to note that inconsistency spreads too. If you let yourself slack off in one area, that carelessness can creep into others. Someone who is careless with time usually ends up careless with money. Someone inconsistent in commitments often becomes inconsistent in relationships. This is why it's dangerous to allow small compromises. Every act of inconsistency reinforces a pattern, just like every act of discipline reinforces one. Consistency across all areas doesn't mean perfection. It means creating rhythms and systems that align with your vision. It means deciding that your health, finances, relationships, career, and spirit all matter, and you will show up for them daily. It means refusing to neglect one garden while watering another. Balance isn't about giving equal time. It's about giving consistent attention. When you live this way, your life becomes whole. You don't succeed in one area and fail in another. You don't rise high in business but collapse in family. You don't become spiritually rich but physically bankrupt. You rise in every area because consistency lifts them all. That's how you create not just success but significance. That's how you live a life worth modeling. Momentum creates miracles, and momentum is only born through consistency. Most people underestimate the power of small steps taken daily because they are looking for giant leaps that immediately change everything. But life rarely works like that. Big breakthroughs almost always come after a long season of steady, faithful action that builds unstoppable momentum. Think of a train at rest. At first, it takes enormous effort to get it moving. The wheels turn slowly, and progress feels insignificant. But once that train picks up speed, it becomes almost impossible to stop. The same is true in life. Consistency may feel slow and heavy at the beginning, but once momentum is built, it carries you further than you imagined, and it multiplies your efforts in ways that look miraculous. Momentum is the reward of not quitting. Every time you show up to do the work when you don't feel like it, you add to your momentum. Every disciplined choice compounds, even if you can't see the results immediately. People fail to realize that consistency has a delayed reward. At first, nothing seems to change. The weight doesn't drop after one workout. The bank account doesn't grow after 1 month of saving. The business doesn't explode after 1 week of marketing, but consistency is stacking bricks even when the wall isn't visible yet. Over time, those unseen bricks turn into a structure that suddenly appears strong, tall, and undeniable. From the outside, people call it a miracle. From the inside, it's simply momentum doing its work. This is why so many give up too soon. They mistake silence for failure. They mistake hidden growth for no growth. Momentum is invisible before it is undeniable. Seeds germinate underground before they sprout above ground. Muscles strengthen microscopically before they show visibly. Skills sharpen internally before they shine publicly. The key is to keep going long enough for momentum to reveal itself. Once momentum takes over, what was once hard becomes easier, habits become automatic, results begin to multiply. People start to notice, doors start opening. What felt like pushing a boulder uphill suddenly feels like being carried downhill by the same boulder. That's the miracle of momentum. Momentum also creates confidence. When you see consistent effort paying off, even in small ways, your faith in the process grows. That confidence fuels even more consistency, which adds even more momentum. It becomes a cycle that reinforces itself. The opposite is also true. Lack of consistency breeds discouragement, which leads to giving up, which kills momentum, which convinces you that you can't succeed. The difference between those who win and those who quit is not ability, but the willingness to stay long enough to let momentum do its work. Momentum doesn't just affect you, it inspires others. People are drawn to movement. When they see you staying consistent and beginning to succeed, they are motivated to support you, partner with you, or follow you. Momentum attracts opportunities that stagnation never will. A business with momentum draws investors. A leader with momentum gathers followers. A family with momentum builds legacy. Consistency may begin in private, but momentum always makes it public. It turns your quiet discipline into loud influence. The beauty of momentum is that it multiplies effort. At the beginning, 1 hour of work feels like 1 hour of progress, but as momentum grows, 1 hour of work can create 10 hours worth of results because your past consistency is now compounding. Just like compound interest makes money grow faster over time, consistency makes success grow faster once momentum kicks in. This is why the rich get richer, the strong get stronger, and the skilled get more skilled. They are riding the wave of momentum created by past consistency. Momentum also protects you from setbacks. A single mistake doesn't stop someone with strong momentum. Just like a moving car isn't stopped by a small stone in the road, momentum carries you past temporary failures. People without momentum stumble and stay down. People with momentum stumble and keep rolling. That's why building momentum is one of the most important goals of consistency. It makes you resilient, unstoppable, and harder to defeat. Spiritually, momentum also has its place. Daily prayer may feel small, but over time it builds momentum in faith that makes you unshakable. Daily obedience may feel insignificant, but it builds momentum in character that keeps you strong under pressure. Momentum in spiritual disciplines produces breakthroughs that feel miraculous because they come suddenly, but in truth, they were the result of unseen consistency all along. The lesson is clear: don't despise small beginnings and don't despise small steps. Every little consistent act is a seed of momentum. Keep watering it, keep pressing forward, keep stacking those invisible bricks. The day will come when momentum takes over, and you'll look back amazed at how far you've come. What once looked impossible will feel inevitable. That's not magic. That's the miracle of momentum, created by consistency and rewarded with results far greater than the effort it cost to get started. Consistency requires courage because it is easier to follow the crowd than to stand firm in daily discipline. Society celebrates flashes of brilliance, overnight success, and quick results, but it rarely applauds the person who quietly and faithfully does the work day after day. To be consistent, you must resist the temptation to blend in with mediocrity. You must be willing to endure misunderstanding, criticism, and even loneliness. The average person looks at discipline as bondage, but those with vision and courage know that discipline is freedom. It is freedom from regret, freedom from lack, and freedom from wasted potential. That kind of freedom doesn't come cheap. It demands courage to say no when everyone else is saying yes, and courage to say yes when everyone else is giving excuses. Consistency is courageous because it forces you to live by principle, not by preference. Preferences shift with moods, circumstances, and convenience, but principles remain firm. Anyone can be disciplined when it feels good, but true consistency requires choosing the principle of growth over the comfort of excuses. It means showing up to practice even when you're tired, sticking to your budget when temptations scream at you, investing in your health when shortcuts seem easier, and honoring your commitment when distractions appear. Each of those choices takes courage because they make you different from the masses. Most people are ruled by emotions. The consistent are ruled by convictions. Courage also comes into play when consistency requires you to face failure. Discipline is not a straight line. There will be days you fall short. It takes courage to get back up and keep going after missing a step. Many people quit not because they failed once, but because they lack the courage to restart. Consistency is not perfection, it's persistence. It's refusing to let one mistake define your journey. That refusal is an act of bravery because it means silencing the voice of shame, ignoring the judgment of others, and focusing on progress over perfection. Another reason consistency demands courage is because it often means delayed gratification. In a culture obsessed with instant rewards, waiting patiently while you build brick by brick requires bravery. People may laugh at you for saying no to pleasures they indulge in. They may question why you sacrifice, why you deny yourself, why you live differently. But courage allows you to endure mockery because you see a reward they cannot yet see. It takes courage to save money when everyone else spends recklessly, to study when others party, to pray when others sleep, to practice when others relax. You must be strong enough to handle being misunderstood until results speak louder than explanations. Consistency also requires courage because it will expose you. When you are inconsistent, you can hide behind excuses. But when you are consistent, your life becomes evidence. If you consistently show up at work, people will see your true character. If you consistently commit to your craft, people will expect excellence. If you consistently walk in integrity, you become a standard that others measure themselves against. That visibility takes courage because it invites scrutiny. Consistency puts you on display. It says, "Watch my life, and you'll see proof of what I believe." That is not easy, but it is necessary for greatness. Courage is needed not just to resist the crowd, but also to resist yourself. The hardest battle in consistency is not external, but internal. It's the battle against laziness, against procrastination, against doubt, against fear. To win consistently, you must have the courage to tell yourself no. You must silence the inner voice that says you've done enough when you know you can do more. You must shut down the fear that says, "What if you fail?" and replace it with the conviction that says, "What if I succeed?" Consistency is an internal war, and courage is your weapon. The truth is, courage and consistency are partners. Without courage, you will give up when pressure rises. Without consistency, courage becomes wasted potential. Together, they form the backbone of success. Courage allows you to take the first step, and consistency ensures you keep stepping even when the road is long. Courage pushes you to begin the workout, and consistency builds the body. Courage helps you start the business, and consistency grows it. Courage moves you to pray boldly, and consistency deepens your faith. Both are necessary, but courage is the spark that keeps consistency alive when the fire of motivation burns out. History shows us that every person who accomplished something significant had to combine courage with consistency. Heroes are not those who fought once, but those who kept fighting day after day. Innovators are not those who tried once, but those who kept experimenting through failure after failure. Leaders are not those who spoke once, but those who kept showing up with the same conviction through seasons of criticism and rejection. That's why courage and consistency cannot be separated. Without courage, you'll never last long enough for consistency to bear fruit. So when you feel resistance, don't see it as a sign to stop. See it as proof that you're on the right track. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in spite of fear. And consistency is not the absence of struggle. It's faithfulness in the middle of struggle. Combine the two and you become unstoppable. You may not win overnight, but in time the results will silence every critic, including the critic in your own mind. Consistency requires courage because courage is what keeps you steady when quitting seems easier. And once you've chosen courage, your consistency will carve out a destiny that excuses could never deliver. Consistency becomes identity because what you do repeatedly is who you eventually become. Many people try to change their lives by focusing on goals, but goals are temporary. Identity is permanent. A goal might be to lose 10 pounds, but if you don't see yourself as a healthy person, the weight will come back. A goal might be to save a certain amount of money, but if you don't see yourself as a good steward, you'll go back to poor financial habits. That's why consistency is so powerful. It rewires your identity. The more you practice a habit, the more it becomes part of who you are, not just something you do. When consistency becomes ingrained, you no longer have to force it. It becomes natural because it flows from your identity. At first, consistency feels like effort. You have to push yourself to wake up early, to work out, to save, to pray, to study. It feels foreign because it's not yet who you are, but the more you repeat it, the more familiar it becomes. Eventually, it doesn't feel like something you're trying to do. It feels like something you naturally do because it matches who you are becoming. This is why consistency is more than just about action. It's about transformation. Habits form character, and character shapes destiny. Each consistent act is a brick in the construction of your identity. Think of someone who wants to become a writer. At first, they must force themselves to write daily. They face resistance, distractions, and doubts. But after months of consistency, they no longer say, "I want to be a writer." They say, "I am a writer." The daily discipline rewired their identity. The same applies in faith. A person who prays daily doesn't just say, "I want to be spiritual." They become a spiritual person. A person who studies daily doesn't just say, "I want to be wise." They become wise. This shift in identity is the true fruit of consistency. The danger of inconsistency is that it also shapes identity, but in the opposite direction. If you consistently procrastinate, you become a procrastinator. If you consistently quit, you become a quitter. If you consistently make excuses, you become someone who lives beneath your potential. Identity is not just what you believe about yourself. It is the reflection of what you practice daily. You don't have to declare who you are with words. Your habits declare it louder than anything you say. That's why guarding your consistency is guarding your destiny. Consistency also creates trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. You build self-respect, which strengthens confidence. Over time, you no longer need outside validation, because your own history of consistency confirms your identity. On the other hand, when you break your commitments repeatedly, you begin to distrust yourself. You weaken your confidence and your belief in your own word. Identity is built or broken by whether or not you remain consistent with what you say you'll do. What makes consistency powerful is its cumulative effect. One act may not seem significant, but dozens, hundreds, and thousands of consistent acts layer on top of each other until they define you. It's like water dripping on stone. At first, the drops seem meaningless, but over time they carve patterns into the rock itself. That's what consistency does to your soul, your body, your finances, your relationship. It carves permanent identity. And once identity is formed, it becomes hard to break, for better or for worse. This is why building the right consistent habits is so important. You are not just changing what you do. You are changing who you are. The truth is, destiny doesn't flow from dreams. It flows from discipline. Who you become is not determined by what you hope for, but by what you practice consistently. You can declare affirmations all day, but unless your habits align, they are just words. Identity is not built by intention, but by repetition. That's why it is said, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a character, sow a character, reap a destiny. Consistency is the thread that weaves all those stages together until destiny is revealed. Once consistency becomes identity, success becomes sustainable. A person who loses weight through a diet but doesn't change identity will regain it. A person who earns money quickly but doesn't shift identity will lose it. But a person who becomes consistent in health becomes healthy for life. A person who becomes consistent in finances becomes wealthy for life. A person who becomes consistent in faith becomes spiritually strong for life. That's the power of identity. It locks in results because it flows from who you are, not what you temporarily did. So the challenge is not just to force yourself to be consistent. It is to keep being consistent until consistency changes how you see yourself. Once it moves from effort to identity, you won't have to push as hard because it will be natural. You'll no longer say, I'm trying to. You'll say, this is who I am. And when consistency becomes identity, nothing can take it from you. Habits become character, character becomes destiny, and destiny becomes legacy. That is the ultimate fruit of forcing yourself to be consistent until it becomes second nature, until it becomes you.